Hey guys, Lou here from LT's Custom Woodworks. Welcome to the shop. Today, another day, but another dollar spent. Today I'm actually doing a project for myself. It's been a few years now that I didn't have a table saw sled, which is one of the most essential things in a shop. So I decided to take the day to build one. What I have here is I'm going 26 wide, 22.5 inches deep. I know those are weird, odd numbers, but I bought some extrusion channels here for my stop block. It's got the tape measure on the side. I'm going to add an extension to this, and I bought some T-track. Now, some of the sleds I had in the past, I've always put a T-track, one on each side, for a hold-down clamp. I've never ever used it, ever. And all it did was just collect dust inside the T-tracks. I bought it, I was gonna put it in, but then I thought to myself, I've never ever used one in years, a T-track, so why even bother? This has T-tracks built in, so if I wanna clamp something down, I can put a clamp in here and clamp it onto the piece. It should be no problem. So I'm not gonna install this, none of these. I got my my measuring tape, adhesive tape that is from right to left, and of course I got my stop block, and we are going to go from there. So I got this piece is already cut, the base is already cut at 26.5 wide, 22.5 deep. What I'm going to start on is start doing my glue up for my fence, and I have to make the runners. So I'm going to get started on measuring out my fence, and I'll get that glued up. Now that I got these cut, this is going to be for the fence, for the front fence. And I cut 1/2 inch strips that are going to glue and pin down. And then I'll have another one here, glued and pinned down. One's going to sit on top. And then another one, which I have to cut the width, is going to sit inside and it's going to slide back and forth, and that's going to be for the extended fence. And I will cut this to size once this part is secured down. So I'm just going to run a little bit of glue and pin it down with some 1.25 inch pins. Now this gets pinned and nailed on top, but before I do that, once I pin this down, this will be pretty tight. So I'm just going to run a strip of tape on top of each side of this to elevate it just a slight. And if I have to run 2 strips, I will run 2 strips. While this is in glue up, I'm going to start working on the slides for the sled. I'll trim those up and get those ready. Okay, so I found some maple that I had laying around in the junk pile there, and believe it or not, this is a perfect fit. What are the chances of me having already something cut for this? Unbelievable. So the only thing I got to do is cut the length, and because it's so thick, I got to drop it down to whatever I need it. Okay, so what I've done, I loaded my blade I set my fence. So basically I took the sheet of plywood, I split it in half with the differences, and I set my fence up to that. Now I'm going to drop these nuts in the middle here, just to elevate my slide, my runner. And I'm going to use some CA glue. Now you don't want a whole lot, just enough to tack it down. Once that dries, I'll take it off. I'll pre-drill some holes and drive some screws and countersink some screws. We're going to put 3 screws on each side, so we're just going to countersink these. I'm not going to drill them all the way through. A bit down. I'm going to take the back fence, and of course you don't have to square that up as long as it's nice and even at the edge of the base. That's all that matters on this side. I'm just going to clamp it and hold it in place while I drill some pilot holes. And screw it into place. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put my square up against the fence and line it up to this cut that I made. Wow. It looks pretty bang on, but what I'm going to do is I'll cut a piece of plywood and see where I'm at and see if it's square. My hole's drilled out in the center. I'll screw this one on first. Then I will screw this one and this one. And I'm just going to use these little 6 by 1/2 inch screws. Now what I'll do is I will clamp this down so it don't move on me. I'll run 2 for now, just so I can get the first screw started. And I'm going to run screws on top and bottom. At this point here, I got my extension put in. I got to make a handle for here to lock it in place so it can't move. So I'm just going to make the handle quick, fast, and easy, and I'll do it out of 1.5 pine. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. I'm going to drill a hole, and I'm going to use one of these. And I'll tap into here. I will drive a couple of screws. There we go. Now we're ready to screw this in. This is already pre-drilled. There we are. Now I'm going to add a safety feature for the blade on the saw, so my fingers don't get, you know, holding it here and that blade come through. So I'm going to set up a block. That way it's hard for me to get my hands in front of that. So it's just a reminder that, hey, this blade is coming through here. Now I'm going to let this sit for a few hours. I'm not in no big rush. I will clamp it. And in the meantime, I can do cleanup, mill up some other stuff for another project. Now that this had dried, I'm just going to square it off. So I'm going to cut it up on the miter saw and just square everything up, and then I can glue this in place. Before I glue this in, I'm just going to router off the edges. I'm just going to round over it, put a round over. This dried overnight and looking good. Now we're ready for the tape measure. And we're going to give that a try. And it looks like we got it bang on. And that pretty much wraps it up for this video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.